Welcome to Showing Up Solo, your go-to source for solopreneur success in the digital world. You're not just running a business, you're wearing all the hats, from CEO to content creator. What if I told you there's a way to master online marketing without sacrificing all your time? Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Showing Up Solo. Today I am joined by the lovely Victoria Taylor, and we're talking all about social proof and how to build trust with your audience. Before we dive in, Victoria, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself to my audience.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Victoria Taylor. I'm a digital and content marketing consultant, and I help tech SaaS and entrepreneurs help to create amazing content that's growth.
Wonderful. So what kinds of things do you typically support your clients?
So I typically work with content marketing strategy, execution, SEO, lead generation, and everything else in between.
Wow. So obviously we do very similar things. We do them for slightly different kinds of clients.
Yeah, mostly tech, SaaS, which is software as a service, those and e-commerce. So those are my three pillars.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So obviously a great expert to have in today to talk about how to build authority when you're doing your online marketing. When you're a service provider, which is who I typically work with, and most of my listeners will be, that can be a challenging one because you have to rely a lot on what other people say about you because it's very difficult to kind of quantify. You can't say, you can say I've sold this many packages, I guess, but it's not
as impactful if it's coming from somebody who actually had those packages that you did.
Yeah. Exactly. So social proof and how you use it to build trust with your audience. Now, I know for service providers, social proof is one of the best ways to establish credibility and authority and build trust with your clients. It's one of the only ways to really show that you know what you're doing without going on and on and on about giving educational content constantly.
Right.
What are your thoughts on it? How does this come up with you, with your clients, or yourself as a service provider?
Especially myself as a service provider, and also those in tech, especially when you're selling software or tools, social proof is extremely important because it doesn't matter how much you say how great your product is, unless somebody else is saying how great it is. And a common misconception that people have of social proof is they just think it's like somebody showing your product on social media.
Yeah, that's not the same.
That's not the same. It's a part of it. It's a fraction of it. But social proof goes beyond that. It's case studies. It's testimonials. It's reviews. It's having a community of fans who rave about you without you having to promote it or push for it, right?
Yeah. I'm just thinking back even to years and years ago when I was planning my wedding. And the first thing I did when I was looking for vendors, you can do a Google search and find tons and tons of vendors. I went to a wedding fair and saw a bunch of vendors there, but the people I went with were the ones I got personal recommendations. I talked to my friends who had weddings, or I had friends who recommended photographers who they went to art school with. I went with the people who someone I knew and trusted referred me to first, regardless of whether they were the cheapest or didn't really matter price point wise. It was more, okay, I feel like I can trust them because someone I trust has told me I can trust them.
That extended arm of trust.
Exactly. And so that's social proof in its rawest form. It's that personal recommendation. But and building your referral network is of course excellent. But in lieu of that, you want to get that same feeling. You want to show that there are other people who your audience will trust to give you a seal of approval.
That's true. And what I see sometimes that a lot of just business owners, whether you're solo or with a team or building a startup, is that they're so focused on building the product, building the service, that they forget the little small milestones where they can interact with their clients and their customers to get that social proof along the way. Sometimes they think, I need to reach a certain level, or the product or the service needs to be at a certain pace, or I need to have X amount of clients before I can have social proof. Well, no, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's simply just asking, or if I mean, case studies do really well. If you're at a point where you don't have clients to do case studies, one of the things I always recommend, do a case study on yourself.
Yes.
Open the conversation, show people so that other people know what's going on. That's always a really good starting point.
Yeah, share your honest experiences and stories. And I think when you're starting out, like you said, it's difficult because you don't always have a source of, like, what do you do if you haven't had any clients yet?
Exactly.
Or customers yet? Well, and I remember when I was starting my business, you want to have some kind of a proof. It's your references. When you go apply for a job with a resume, people want to speak to your references.
Exactly.
So one of the first things I did is I reached out to people I knew from work and from who had worked with me in the past, and I got recommendations from them on LinkedIn and like just personal recommendations about what it was like to work with me as a jumping off point.
100%. And even just LinkedIn network. There are a lot of people I've never physically met in person, but I've worked with them when I had my full-time job. And then when I went on my own, they were the ones who recommended me to event planners to speak at events or a client to me. And even just today, I've been talking back and forth with someone that I've been following on social media. She does social media marketing. I do content marketing. We connected. She's like, hey, could you reference me if you need anything? I said, of course I can, because I've seen your work. We've built trust together. And that's one way to build social proof on the back end, that if, again, you don't have clients, if you're starting from scratch, having a network of people who are going to speak about even rooms that you can't enter is really powerful.
And actually, I think that brings a really good point about people you collaborate with often. So all of you know Rachel Botfield is my podcast manager. She does an amazing job. And she uses my testimonial and my podcast as social proof on her website. Similarly, Rachel has been through my coaching programs. And so I have several quotes and testimonials from her vouching for me. And that's kind of a nice mutual exchange. Even though we're both paying each other, it's also a nice exchange, validating fellow service providers.
But that's what makes it authentic, because you've experienced the service from a genuine place of being a client and as a friend, as a coworker, as somebody who's networked.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the value of those peer-to-peer references. If you don't have as many customers who can give testimonials. I know a few clients who, because of, like, I have a few clients who are therapists, for example. So for confidentiality reasons, they can't often share examples. But a way around that is to share peer-to-peer recommendations, or you could do like a hypothetical scenario. You could say, this person, for example, the little note, names changed to protect their identity.
And also, even like if you're really active on social, some of the really good comments that you get from people where they share, like, I really loved your content, XYZ, that's also a really good way to build social proof. And you can reach out to that person, like, hey, would you mind if I shared your comment on my socials, XYZ? That's also a really good place if you are, again, building up from scratch. You don't have full clientele to get hard and fast social proof from. Yeah, I think one also thing that people would consider is where you share your social proof.
Yes. Well, where do you think? Now that you've brought it up, where should you share your social proof?
I think you should share your social proof. I don't know if some people might agree, but everywhere you possibly can.
Yeah.
Not just your website, in your emails, in your content, in some of your proposal, whatever work you have where there's space to show social proof, show it, because it really does make a difference.
100% agree. And like, I know when I built my first website, I did a testimonials page and I put them all there. I don't do that anymore. I don't have a dedicated testimonials page. My social proof is scattered throughout my website, throughout my sales pages, throughout my information, so that it's easy to access.
Yeah.
And same thing with social media. Attention all solopreneurs. Whether you're just setting sail on your business voyage or navigating uncharted waters as a seasoned explorer, we've got something extraordinary for you. Introducing the Marketing Compass Quiz. Chart your path to success. It's not just a quiz, it's your gateway to discovering your unique business adventure. Each question is carefully crafted to unveil the next destination on your marketing journey and guide you along an adventure that aligns perfectly with your goals. But wait, there's more. After taking the quiz, you'll receive an exclusive resource that aligns perfectly with your chosen adventure. Ready to embark on this exciting quest for self-discovery? Don't wait any longer. Take the Marketing Compass quiz now by heading to showingupsolo.com/quiz. Your journey awaits, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Get ready to set sail into your unique business adventure. I like to use a 3-pillared kind of approach to social media strategy, where you do problem, provide, persuade. So a third of your content is focused on identifying the problems that your ideal clients have. The third of it is on providing the solution, or explaining how the solution can be provided, i.e. what you do. And then persuade is the sales focused. And let's say you just post once a week. So let's say you post 3 times a week. So it's one of those posts a week is going to be one of your persuade. Bare minimum, one of those should be sharing a client story, a testimonial, like a case study. Bare minimum.
Or even your own story of how you overcame a problem. That's also one thing you can do too.
Exactly. The other thing I really like to do, and I've gotten in the habit of doing this, is screenshotting. If someone sends you like a little message that says, "Oh my gosh, what you showed me yesterday was like so helpful. Thank you." Screenshot. Always ask permission. And it's a good idea to get a testimonial release form. The contracts market, they do have I feel like it's free, their testimonial release form, but I'd have to double check that. We'll make sure we leave the links in the comments, but that's a really great little document to get people to sign.
Having that. I would say like having a contract in place, especially if you're going to do ads on that testimonial, is extremely important, because you want to make sure that person is comfortable with their name and their profession, or the company being associated with that. And when you do sign on clients, I think a good tidbit to have is the initial onboarding contract should have a little snippet that kind of talks about that. So you kind of get it out of the way without having to like state back up again, because that can cause like another I think just, another thing to kind of bring up. You want to package everything as much as possible for the client so it's easy, right?
That is such a good idea. Do you know what? I was literally just convinced me that I need to integrate my testimonial release form into my contracts. Because that is a roadblock, especially when you've wrapped up a project. Often you need to give clients a little bit of time to process, and then trying to track down those testimonials at the end is so hard. It's one of the reasons I like to gather it as it goes, like in my emails that I get from the clients, or if someone on a call said something like, "Oh my gosh, this has been wonderful." I'm often transcribing my calls because ADHD, dyslexia, can't keep track.
It's also really good regardless.
It's a good practice.
It's a good practice.
But then I have a transcript, and then I'll just like type it up and I'll send it to the client and say, "Are you cool with me using this?" And get their go ahead on it. And then I know that like I'm gathering it as I go. So if communication breaks down at the end of a project, I still have my social proof collected.
And you want to make it as painless as possible when you collect it from the client. So if they're like, "Oh, I'm not sure what to write," because some people feel the pressure, like, "What do I write?" Say like, "Send me a voice note," or "Let's go hop on a call. You tell me about your experience." Again, like you said, you transcribe it. It's just make it as easy as possible for the client to give it, because when it's easy, they're much more willing to give it to you, rather than like, "Send me 500 words on why this works," and be like, "I'll get back to you next week," and then you'll never hear from them again.
I like to do a form, like a little questionnaire with like guided questions that they can answer. And then what I'll do is I'll wordsmith it and send it back for sign off. That's another way to collect it in a fairly easy way.
And that way you get all the points that you want from there. I like that.
Exactly. I think I even have a template for that. If I do, I'll make sure it goes into the show notes. Victoria, is there a better or a best form of social proof, do you think? Put you on the spot now.
I think video is always great, but again, not all clients will like video, right?
It's hard to come by.
It is hard to come by. But video, case studies, and just having like very specific posts for social proof, no matter where you put it. When they're specific, it means that the review is genuine. And they're like, "Oh, she did such an awesome job with this. when they're like, she helped me to navigate through this hard time in my life, or he helped to point out this area and this is how we improve, that's where you really want, again, the forms of help.
Yeah, something where it's like, those templates helped me get over this roadblock that I'd been having for years. Exactly. Or, yeah, that one example you gave me was the light bulb moment for me.
Exactly. And so video content is always great. However, not everyone is comfortable or willing to give video content. So get what you can.
One of my things like I try to encourage my clients to do, although again, not everyone's comfortable and I totally get it. But if you do a wrap-up meeting at the end of your project with a client or like at the end of working with someone, which is a good idea to do, kind of like an exit interview.
It is.
Integrate it into that.
Yeah.
So say, are you okay if I just hop on, if I just record this or record the audio or something at the end of this call, and you just ask them the questions and get them to answer, then it doesn't take too much video editing know-how to cut that together and just have, you've got your testimonial then.
And then the video feels raw and authentic rather than very polished and kind of like, is this a real testimonial? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I do think we could talk about this for ages, but I do want to, just before we wrap it up, go to user-generated content.
Oh, nice.
Because now that is something that has been trending. Everyone's like, oh, you need user-generated content. Those are the things you're thinking of when you see like influencers using products and recommending them. And I've noticed a lot of ads trying to be user-generated. Like,
100%.
Like,
yeah.
I've seen Olay, I think, is one of the ones that's been doing it a lot. You know, the anti-aging stuff.
Oh, that one, yeah.
I've seen a lot of theirs where the ad is like meant to be some influencer, like, oh, I'm just using it in my shower. Oh my gosh.
Or I don't know if you've seen that Motion app, the AI assistant. We're like, this is how I XYZ. Like, it sounds like a TikTok video, but it's actually an ad.
Yeah, I saw someone like go into like Next or not Next. Sorry, that's a British brand. They going into like one of the clothing stores,
right?
And go like, oh my gosh, they've got so many cool styles. I love it. And it's like, it's clearly not user-generated content. Like, they're clearly being paid to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just too, like...
Yeah, it's too on the nose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's detrimental to the brand, don't you?
I do think it's detrimental to the brand. However, I can understand why they're doing it. Because that's the type of content that people want the most. And typically, as anything in marketing, we try to just...
They're trying to disguise adverts as social proof, which is the reason I thought about this. Is like you're saying, the more raw and authentic it looks, the more like true, valid, or trustworthy it feels.
Right.
That's why I like screenshots over a typed up testimonial.
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes you want a properly typed up one.
Yeah.
But a screenshot is a screenshot.
It's a screenshot. That's so true. And also having the right influencer who knows how, not everyone who has influence isn't an influencer. My grandma used to say, not everyone who can dance is a dancer.
Yeah.
And so partnering with the right influencer, and they don't have to have a high number of followers. The content just has to look extremely good. Like there is an influencer. He was a guy and he was using La Roche-Posay, which is the French skincare, and he mispronounced the words so badly. But the brand saw it and they're like, this is so amazing. And they did a collaboration with him. And he did an amazing ad where I just thought it was his regular content.
Yeah.
And there's also, she's Mormon. And she's like, today I'm making cocoa pebbles from scratch for my kids. And a luxury brand decided to do a collaboration with her. And everyone thought it was just her typical thing, and she took out the luxury bag. I was like, oh, that's a really good, they're twists to do it, but just jumping on it is not enough, right? Yeah. Just having the user content is not enough. Does it connect with your audience?
Yes. Actually, so I've been obsessed with these content creators called Viva La Dirt League, and they got really famous in the gaming, like they're gaming nerds, so not everyone, most of you won't have seen it. But they, like around 2017, 2018, they were they had started doing a series of skits on some of the bugs and glitches with an online game called PUBG. And the makers of PUBG saw them and saw how popular they were and got them to do some sponsored work. And they're telling the story in one of their like behind the scenes stories or something about how they initially did like complimentary episodes for the sponsored content. And then when they showed it to the sponsors, they're like, no, this isn't your usual stuff. Your usual stuff makes fun of us. It makes fun of the glitches and stuff. That's what people want, and that's what we want you to do. Just do your usual content.
Exactly.
And you can't, like, until you watch the end where it says, and this was sponsored by them, you don't know the difference between their sponsored content and their regular content. And I think that's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because people want authentic experience, and the word is thrown around so much, but it still means what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one quick last little point that just came to mind. Should you pay people to give you social proof? Should you be paying people for user-generated content? Should you be trading services for testimonials? What's your opinion on that?
So my opinion is I don't see an issue with that if it's done right, because especially if you're a new product, a new service, and you know that it's hard for you to get reviews from people. One is that as the product or as the brand, it's your responsibility to be social. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why it's called social proof. Yes. If you're not social, that's one of the reasons why you're not getting proof.
Yeah.
So you need to be more involved in your community. And this is not just sharing content online. This is literally talking to your community, either entertaining, educating, or just engaging with them in a way that's really true to your brand and the people you want associated with it. And when you do that, it becomes a little bit more just like the Tropics. It's a skincare brand. They have the under eye thing. It's like very popular. And they were popular because people just love the content that they have. They really engage with their audience, and their audience will freely give it to them. You have to work to get to a place where people freely give you stuff.
Yes.
So you can start off by saying like, hey, we'll give you X% off. Give us an honest review, because a lot of big brands do it. Mm-hmm. But that should not be your main point of getting social proof. It should be a starting point. It should be something that you do for a marketing campaign to launch a new product. But at some point, you have to stop, because it has to. If you have to continue to pay for it, there's an issue with your funnel. There's an issue with your community and your connection and your content.
Yes, I think I couldn't have put that better myself. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about this. I think we've got a lot to think about there. Moral of the story: get social proof. It's super valuable. So for anyone listening who is now a huge Victoria fan, where can they find you? How can they get in touch?
So I'm mainly active on LinkedIn. I also have my website, which is victoriatailoredmarketing.com. And I'm also on YouTube and Instagram, but mainly on LinkedIn, mainly on YouTube.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me, Victoria. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And until next time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Showing Up Solo. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review or sharing your thoughts in the comments. These simple gestures help us appease the algorithm gods and continue to bring you great, free education. Ready to navigate the world of marketing with confidence? Take the Marketing Compass quiz, available at showingupsolo.com, to discover the next phase of your journey. And don't forget to explore our range of courses and coaching programs while you're there. Let's transform your solo venture into a thriving success story together. Until the next episode, keep showing up and making your mark in the world of solopreneurship. See you soon.